Here we are, welcome you to our continued learning in Hishtapchut HaNefesh. We're on the just past Pesach Sheni, and we're on the 17th day of Iyar, coming up to Shavuos, coming Lag Bomer this week. The fire of Rebbe Nachman, the fire of the Tzaddikim, the fire of the true Tzaddikim. And also we're steaming into, of course, Shavuos, so we're going to learn a little bit, B'ezrat Hashem, about sifting today, about what happens, how do we sift, how do we create channels to power our prayer. Okay, so here we go. So we're going to start now. First, make the Kashrut, Halein, Mikasher Tzmi, V'atzmi, B'lim B'tor Zeh, V'kol Tzadikim V'atim Asher B'doreinu, V'kol Tzadikim V'atim Shochnei Afar, Kadoshim Asher V'tzem V'chad Rabbeinu Kadosh, Tzadik Yisod Olam Nacham Nuvei Mekol Chochmo, Ein Nachman Tvedia. No, Nachman Newman. So Sam Yigenu L'Chol Yisrael. Amen. Okay, we're learning it. We're up to chapter 61, Perek Samech Aleph, Hishtapchut HaNefesh, and may it be will Hashem that this learning, the good of this learning, the merit of this learning, may it be will should send healing to all the people in healing, including Chaya Bat Beah, to Rachel Bat Sarah, Henya Rata Vageta Ratza, Yosef Ben Genya. Yoel Davis's brother, who's hanging on by a thread, Yechezkel, didn't remember his name. And all who need Yeshuas and all who need Refuas from Am Yisrael and from Hashem, may it be your will, you should illuminate your knowledge throughout the world, and people should come to true peace and joy and goodness in every way.
Can I give you a name? Shimon Bar Yochai Ben Malka.
I didn't catch it.
Bar Yochai Ben Malka.
Bar Yochai?
Yes, Shimon Bar
Yochai Ben Malka. Also, please Hashem. And all the people who need Zivugim, Shuot, in every way. Okay, it says like this. Samech Aleph. Al Yedei Limud Poskim Zochin Lispalel Karui B'chol Devavo. So by learning halacha, poskim was what meaning is the word posek is someone who makes a psak halacha, a statement of this is the actual delineation of the halacha. So that who did that? The Rambam did that. He's poskim. The Shulchan Aruch, Rabbi Yosef Karo, he did that. He's from poskim. The Moshe Isserles, the Ashkenazic tradition within the Shulchan Aruch, and all the people who comment on the Shulchan Aruch. Everybody who comments on the halacha, lately up till now the time, Mishnah Berurah, these are called poskim. And when we're learning poskim, we're doing sifting. So when a person learns poskim, he merits to be able to pray properly with all his heart. Because the truth is, if we would believe with a absolutely full heart, that the entire world is full of Hashem's glory and His honor and His presence. And Hashem is standing over the person at the time of the person's praying, and He listens and He pays attention and He's focusing on each and every word that a person says in his prayer. Now, if we really believe that, if you really thought that it was important, each of us, if we thought it was really that Hashem was right there and that He was really listening and that our prayers were effective and that Hashem listens to them and answers and responds, wouldn't we all spend much more time praying and being careful to say our prayers in the most effective, powerful, compassion, listening manner? Of course we would. Just like if you're standing in front of somebody a millionaire, right? And this millionaire is known that he likes to give people what they need. And all you have to do is come up to him and say to him, hey, listen, I need this, this, and this. You'd be making sure, but he has to be convinced of your sincerity. That's one thing. He has to be convinced of your sincerity, and he's not going to give you what you didn't ask for. So you knew that he was, if you're sincere and you detail out what you need and tell him exactly what you need, he'll give it to you. So then of course you go before such a millionaire, you wouldn't miss the opportunity. So Kal V'chomer, all the more so. If we really believe that Hashem was standing over us at the time we're praying and really does listen to each and every one of our prayers and find each and every one of us, no matter what level we're on, that Hashem listens, that He pays attention, that He cares about our prayer, that He desires our prayer, no matter where we are, no matter who we are, how righteous or, God forbid, how unrighteous we might be, every time we turn to Hashem, He was waiting for us. He wants to hear our prayers. He loves our prayers. We saw it in the previous chapter. Hashem thirsts for, is yearning for, has desires for our prayers. So therefore, if a person knew that and he really believed it with a full heart, then he would make sure to pray very carefully. Vayemis palo bislavus gadol. He would pray with great enthusiasm. Rak machmas libo chaluk, b'chinas chalak libam. In the aspect of because the person we have uncertainty, we have divisions within our own thoughts. We have our own little arguments with ourselves. In the aspect of what it says in the Hosea, that their heart has divisions. Chalak libam. And so we all everybody goes through it. Hashem really is Hashem is really listening to my prayer. Is Hashem really going to answer? I don't know. I wasn't sure. I've prayed so many times and I haven't seen that He really answers me. So maybe He's not really there for me. All these types of thoughts go through that the Yetzer Hara actually brings up, and these are the types of thoughts that weaken our prayer and weaken our resolve to pray. Ve'enu chazak b'diyah zois b'lev shalem, and he's not clear. He doesn't have clarity about the nature of prayer and the nature of his relationship with Hashem. So therefore, because of that, because he's not sure, therefore he doesn't take the time, he doesn't make the effort to focus and to pray with all the strength and all the sincerity that he can muster. And this whole inner doubt arises from the natural left side that we have in our heart, which are the questions and the heresies that maybe God's not there. We all go through it. Everybody, except for the most refined person who has completely refined all his natural his character traits and has conquered his evil inclination. But everybody else, we all get knocked around by conflicting or amalek thoughts of doubt. Okay, most of us, we just ignore them. Most of us, we don't pay attention, and we don't want to. And many people are so deeply afraid that they're no good that they don't want to admit to themselves, let alone anybody else, that they have heretical types thoughts that flash through their heads. But this is what happens. We all have this because there has to be in order for us to have free choice, then Hashem had to implant in us a right side of the heart, as it were, that inclines towards godliness, inclines towards good, and a left side of the heart that inclines towards physicality and inclines towards lack of awareness of Hashem, which is the definition of evil, one of the aspects of evil. So this is what's going on. That's what the root of this is. The furious in the heart, the heresy that's in the heart. This is the aspect of the argument that the Yetzer Hara is screaming inside of us all the time. The Yetzer Hara, our inclination towards evil, our tendency to look at the physical world and say, I can't perceive God with my five senses. My intellect can't fathom how there can be a good God who does such evil in the world. I can't fathom that. My intellect doesn't. So it must not be true. That even if the person rejects that ideal ultimately, but that's a voice that goes on sometimes, many times, and we just ignore it because it's not the main voice. It's not Baruch Hashem. For most of us, the main voice is we do believe in Hashem, but these thoughts do come in, and that's what he's saying is the root of the weakness of prayer. This is the aspect of the argument that the Yetzer Hara is having in the heart. He says, how do you fix this? interestingly enough, you learn halacha, and the person who is stuck in the physical world and thinks that everything is about physical law and doesn't understand the spiritual influences. So that person is going to go, how can learning halacha, dry law of how you do and what's kosher and what's not kosher and what's forbidden and what's permitted and all these types of things, how is that going to help with my prayer? Why should that help with my prayer? But no, it's Shali Dezem, Mevatlin, Machlokas Yetzer Asher B'Lev Shel Shor, because he says what this does, the spiritual power of learning halacha, of making these delineations, that when we learn it, understand that when we're speaking, the way to learn is not reading. It's very important. And anybody who comes from the West who's used to just reading books and not saying, we're in the West actually, Adarav, we're taught in school not to read the words with our mouths. Because I remember when I was a kid, we can relate to this, that they taught it like the kids would start learning to read and they'd mouth the words silently as they're reading, right? And then you can see they're reading a book and they're mouthing the words, and the teacher would come out, tell them, I'd say, don't mouth the words, just read it. And I actually went through like a whole reading. I remember with film strips and things like that to teach the purpose was to teach to let your eyes read without necessarily having to hear the words. That's how speed reading works. Because we think way faster than we can speak, and so and we can see things, we can take in a whole picture, and so speed reading works if a person can surrender the need to hear themselves think the words, to hear in their minds the words being said, sounded, so they can pick up the reading speed tremendously, right? So that's what we think. So we think that we should read that way because that's the way we were brought up. But really, the way to learn halacha and any Torah is that you need the voice. You need the voice because the voice is called Malchus Peh. Malchus is the final vessel of the way the infinite light that Hashem created the world through, chaining down a number of interrelationships of 10 sphirot inside 10 sphirot, each one coming down like fractals, until that we have what's called the Malchut, which is the final vessel, which allows something to manifest in this world. So therefore, when we're learning halacha, it's not just that we're reading it, we say it. And so what happens when we're doing this, when we read the words of halacha and we say them out, we're actually making those siftings, even though the actual halacha was put down, was redacted and put into written form hundreds of years ago. Nevertheless, when I'm reading that halacha and I'm saying it out, the fact that I'm uttering those words of delineation creates delineations, and that's what speech does. Speech actually is in itself is delineation. That's why we have the 5 places where sound words are made from, and that's not coincidental that it's 5, because 5 is also a number of completion. Malchus, there are 5 partsufim, which the 10 sphirot are related into relationship, into 5 relationship vessels, which are called partsufim. So therefore, what happens there now? So the learning of poskim, the reading the halacha out loud, causes a nullification of the arguments of the Yetzer Hara, the inclination that's going on in the heart. It causes a nullification at its root. That's an amazing thing. So where do you think the machlokis that we're so used to human experience, we're used to certain things, that the things exist. When I say that there's something called argument, everybody knows what an argument is, right? But we don't think of that. Wait a minute, Hashem created the concept and the experience of argument. That if Hashem didn't want this thing to be in the world called argument, it wouldn't be there. Even though I, in my human intellect, and I'm used to human experience, I can't fathom. Wait a minute, what's a world? What would it be like that there's no such thing called argument? Right? But because it's a creation, because machloket, argument is created, therefore it has to have a root. So any type of machloket, any type of argument is all going to be rooted in the very root of argument. So where's the root of that? Nimshach min machlokes shebekudusha. That the machlokes of the Yetzer Hara, the fact that there's something called a machloket, an argument of the Yetzer Hara, is rooted in its root is in machloket of kedusha, argument for the sake of holiness. And what's that? When in deriving halacha, the discussions in the Talmud are about the machloket was for the sake of deriving and understanding what's the truth, what is Hashem trying to get us, what is Hashem's desire, what's His will as put forth in the Torah, and then and because of over time Hashem orchestrated it that there would be loss of tradition and people would start, and because at first it was very carefully passed down and it went one to one generation to the next, it was clear. But at a certain point, because of the persecutions, because of our fall at spiritual level, so we started losing a bit of our memory, and people were not sure. And so then there began to be machloket, and the purpose of the machloket, the argument, was to wrestle, to try to re-ascertain what is Hashem's real truth. So that's called machloket shebekudusha. That's the machloket of the Tanaim, or the rabbis of the Mishnah, and the Amoraim, the rabbis of the Gemara. Shezeh oseh v'zeh matir, because one forbids it and another one permits a certain thing. So what happens? So the machloket of kedusha, we know the way that the spiritual energy of halakha comes out is that it starts in the written Torah and the oral tradition that Moshe received, and then it was transmitted, and then it started to become weakened, so that it needed to be discussed and argued. And the actual discussions and arguments had to come down, to boil down into a practical way that we were going to live our lives. Right? And so the majority opinion, and I'm not going to get into the whole halachic process, but ultimately the majority opinion of the main codifiers, it's what's used to bring down what is the way we're going to, what is the delineated final answer of, after all the discussions are said and done, what's the way we're going to behave? What's the law? And so therefore it's taking those arguments and bringing it down into a malchus form, into a finalized form of this is the delineation. Because that delineation of that, what this is the law, it's called the psak halakha, the delineation of the law, is the arriving at peace and the arriving at a resolution of the arguments that the sages were having. So now, therefore, since the argument of the holy argument was resolved by making halacha, then everything that chains down, since that's the root of all argument, then every type of argument that's attached to that, even the argument of evil, even the argument of the Yetzer Hara, is also nullified by saying out the halacha. That's an amazing thing. Now, it used to be, I know that for a long time, Am Yisrael was we had a simple existence. Most of Am Yisrael kept Torah, and that was that for a very long time, until about a couple hundred years ago, and Hashem started to shift that to the point where most of Am Yisrael now does not keep Torah Hashem Yerachim. But that was for the sake of letting go. You got to sometimes break down something in order to rebuild it. But what happened was. I forgot what my point was going to be here. Sorry about that. The psak halacha is the peace and the resolution of the arguments, the Tanaim and the Amoraim. Oh, that's what it was. And so when we say, so the amazing thing is, back then, 200 years ago, people started having all sorts of intellectuals called the Enlightenment. And they said, oh, we're too enlightened to believe in God. We're too enlightened to believe in all these superstitions that if you say halacha out loud, it's going to nullify argument, right? But nowadays, you know what's happened? Because of technology and because of all the different things that we understand about vibration. We understand about, in quantum physics, they talk about vibration and particles and waves, and now that we can understand that, it's easier for us to understand how that because I'm saying out a delineation, that creates a consciousness of delineation. And that delineation, again, spells the end of any disagreement, because you're saying that's the delineation. So we can understand that perhaps because technology, because of what we're involved, we can understand it. Deep concepts that used to be only available to the most elite minds in Am Yisrael, and most of Am Yisrael is just very simple. But again, about 200 years ago, people started thinking, well, maybe it doesn't make sense to me, so maybe it's not right. But now we see in the end the amazing thing that it actually, the more we've discovered, the more it makes sense. And so when the inner doubt, when the inner argument is resolved, a person merits what's called a straight heart, yosher lev, shloya libo chaluk alav, that his heart doesn't have any divisions of what he really believes in, what he feels. So that when there's no divisions anymore, now a person believes with simple faith, because there's no doubts going on. Maybe Hashem doesn't listen to my prayer. So he fully believes in his prayer with absolute faith that Hashem listens to every word of prayer. So now, when a person believes completely, now he's going to pray, because, oh wow, I can get everything I need. Hashem is going to give me, He loves me, He cares, He listens to my prayer, and He's going to give me everything I need as long as I go, like we were talking about going before the millionaire, and I'm sincere, and I give him some details. Wow, of course I'm going to do that. What if we really believed it? What idiot wouldn't do it? Except that we also know that there's the Yetzer Hara that tries to pull us away from it. But really, if there was no such thing as pulling us away, of course we're going to pray. This is the verse in Psalms in Tehillim in 119, where it says, I will thank you, Hashem, with a straight heart. And levav is written, it's not lev, singular, it's written levav, plural. Levav daika, specifically two. Why? Bishnei Yitzarim, that we're going to acknowledge Hashem with the straightness of our two Yetzers. We're talking about the Yetzer Tov and the Yetzer Hara, that they're not going to be arguing anymore. There's going to be agreement, and we'll acknowledge and thank Hashem with a straight heart of the levav. Both aspects are going to align. The Yetzer Tov and the Yetzer Hara actually align. And as our sages said on the pasuk Bechol Levavcha, that's what they said in the Shema, right? We say Hashem, V'ahavta Hashem Elokecha Bechol Levavcha, with all your levavcha. Why doesn't it say libcha, your heart? Why does it say levavcha with two vets? To indicate the two sides of the heart. There's the Yetzer Tov, the good inclination, and the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination. So with your two inclinations. So now the answer. So it says, when am I going to do that? When am I going to thank Hashem with a straight heart, a masai? The end of the verse. So that's the first half of the verse. It says, Odcha beyosher levav. And then the second half it concludes, Belomdi mishpatei tzidkecha, in my learning of the statutes of your righteousness. And that's what David HaMelech is saying. When will I be able to acknowledge you and thank you with a straight heart? In other words, pray. And when I've learned your statutes, your righteous statutes, which is halacha, Ayin Shami says. Okay, and then there's a little note that refers to what we learned earlier about where Rebbe Nachman talked earlier about learning halacha and the important how it affects the ability to speak to Hashem. So we see this idea that Rebbe Nachman brings a number of places. Okay, so what happens? So what are you going to do? You're going to take a halacha book. Where are you going to get one? So if you don't speak Hebrew, if you don't read Hebrew, there's plenty of halacha books. You know, I grew up in a non-religious place, a conservative place, a conservative synagogue. And when I got as bar mitzvah, you know what they gave me? This big, thick English book called Code of Jewish Law. I bet a lot of people know what I'm talking about. And it's halacha. And you take this and you just read 2 halachas a day, Rebbe Nachman says. Just read out, and the more the merrier. But you take a book of Jewish law, whatever the Rebbe Nachman recommends, the Shulchan Aruch and the Ber Hetev on that. But whatever really gives you, if you want to learn Rambam, learn the Maimonides. If you want to learn You want to learn the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, learn Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. But make the delineations and say two halachas and say them out loud. And then you'll see, watch, make a mark on your calendar. When did you start doing that? And then notice how your prayer is going. And you're going to see that your prayer will start to be, wow, my prayer is easier. I'm able to concentrate more on my prayer. And that's the connection. All right, any questions, thoughts, comments? Yes, you want to say something? Okay, going on. Samach Bet, 62. So now, hadibor hu bechinas ema banim. Speech is the aspect of the mother of children. Why? Because a mother always goes with her little kids. With a little child, she's always there. Even if the child's going to some place where it's dirty, the mother's going to go after the child and pull him out, bring him out. And the mother never forgets her children. So too is his speech go with a person at all times. And even in places that are filthy, God forbid. And so the speech that the person says, why do people just go, oh God? Why is that our natural inclination? Everybody does that one time or another, oh God. Where does that come from? Because speech is a natural reminder. It wants to remind us about God. We're inside, in our deepest level of truth. We all know that we're created by the Creator. We all have a deep sense of this. And so that's why it's automatic for people to say, oh God, or God help me, even if they, as they say, there's no atheists in a foxhole. People always intuitively call out to God. And that's the speech. And that goes with them all the time. Because the speech has the ability to mazkir oso tamid as Hashem's barach. The speech will remind a person of Hashem's presence and Hashem's existence. In the aspect of what it says in the verse, Kimidei dabribo zachor es karenu od. Because in the midst of my speaking dabribo, that I will speak in him, or speak in him as bo means about Hashem. In him is words of holiness, that my words are in him, that they're holy words, they're part of Hashem's existence, as it were. Zachor es karenu od. I'm going to surely remember him further. This means to say, now this is so important for all of us, because sometimes we fall, God forbid, and sometimes we fall into places where it feels like, I'm so tired of trying to be a religious person, and now I have the opportunity to go do something that I'm not going to be religious anymore. I'm going to go and I'm going to live in Hawaii and go on the beach and just live like that, and live I'll be a surfer, or I'm going to join the Russian mafia and live whatever it is, right? Some people do Hashem Yerachim. There are people who fall into all sorts of crazy, dark places, right? So that you have to understand and remember that no matter what, that speech is always there. Just like the mother always goes with the son. We all know also the stories. We've seen it so many times. So a person does something terrible, and the mother comes and says, "My boy is such a good boy. He couldn't have done something like that." Or even if the mother knows the boy could have done something like that, she'll still say, "My boy is such a good boy. You should let him." That's a typical motherly response for it. And so the speech is always like that for us too. That no matter where we fall into, you can still speak. Okay, you're at some. Except obviously a person whose speech was taken away. So that person has a different type of tikkun. That person has a different type of rectification. Nevertheless, thoughts are prayers, voices are prayer. A person who doesn't have speech may not have the same power of prayer, but certainly still has access to prayer. But nevertheless, we're talking about the actual power of speech, that the person speaks words, that they will help, they will raise a person up. Because then the speech can always remind a person of the holiness, of the goodness, of the truth of Hashem, no matter what. Even if he's wherever he happens to be, wherever he's fallen to. Diburim kadoshim shel Torah utfilah v'sicha beino levin kono. So like wherever, so the person, let's say the person ends up like he got a thirst for money, and he ended up and he's now in Hong Kong. I don't know, and he's working corporate things and he's dealing with all sorts of business dealings and he has no life. There's no room in his life for any type of aspect of godliness. He's saying, even in that place, open it, get a book of Tehillim. Say one verse. Say one word. Say Ribbon Shalom. That speech will help that person come out of their place of being lost, no matter what. If they do it, if they will just force themselves to say, at least Al Kol Panim, at least, nevertheless, no matter what, to say a couple of holy words at least of prayer, of Torah, of talking to Hashem, or l'siachim rabbo, or to talk to somebody that you respect, a rabbi, or im chavero b'yim hashemayim, or somebody who's a close friend that you know that they're interested in serving Hashem, that you can speak to that person. You can tell them, Hashem, my friend, I'm so far away from spirituality, and I really wish I could come to I wish I had the strength. I wish I wanted to. I don't even really want to, but I kind of believe there's God, but not. I know that there's something higher, but I'm so stuck. What am I going to do? Those words that you talk to your friend, that you talk to Hashem, can help create a ladder through which you can climb out of the pit. So through this speaking, you can remind yourself of God, and even in the deepest, darkest, dirtiest places, God forbid. Because these words will make sure that the person feels the connection that he has with his Creator. And he says, you need to understand this very well, the greatness of the power of speech. This is an amazing and awesome piece of advice. That the person, everybody takes a look. You got to take a look at the world. What do we hear? How long do we have? So it seems like a long time. These 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 120 years. It seems like a long time. But we watch the days fly by. And what are we here for? We're all going to die. We're all going to die. As much as everybody's been for decades, people are trying to find for hundreds of years, people are trying to find the fountain of youth, the thing that's going to stop death. But we're here for that. We're here to go through constricted. Why do we get older? Why do we get weaker? Why? Because Hashem made us that we experience constriction so that we can appreciate eternal expansion. That this world is a temporary world so that we can experience this constriction and make rectification and have different types of experiences that a soul without a physical existence could never have. Right? So you got to look for with the truth. What's the truth? The day of leaving this world is coming. And once we leave this world, we're going to stand up and we're going to look at the truth and we're going to say, "Oh man, I blew it." So we don't want to blow it. So, but you say, "But I can't help it. I'm so stuck." No, you can help it. You say a couple of words. You say, "Hashem, I don't want to blow it. Hashem, I want to come. Please, I want to come to what I'm supposed to. Why did you put me in this world? Please let me come to that." So you can always speak these words, and just forcing yourself out in the deepest pit where it's so hard to say the words. You say a couple of words. You say Ribbon Shalom. You say, "Oh," we already learned about just even groaning can help. Right? But more specifically, we're talking about saying, "Who's the fool that if you came up again?" Here, let's use the millionaire says, "Listen, for every word that's a good word you speak, I'm going to give you $1,000. Who's the fool that's not going to say whatever good words he can find? Right? Oh, I can't. I don't like the way it feels. It's uncomfortable for me to speak. People say this. Why don't I say my prayers out loud? It's uncomfortable. So, but what again? You got this guy standing in front of you. He said, every word that you speak out loud, I'm going to give you $1,000. Are you going to worry if it's uncomfortable? Okay? That's how the Yitzhak gets us. Oh, it's uncomfortable. The reason it's uncomfortable is because prayer is light, prayer is illumination, and we all have wounds inside of us. We have places we're broken. We're places where we have shame and we have fear and we have and we have anger, and we have all sorts of different hidden wounds, hidden emotions, hidden pains. And so what happens? And these are resonances of darkness. So what happens now when we start to say holy words? That's an illumination. When we say words of truth, when we speak, we're on. Welcome. I'll take a pause.
Good.
Welcome, and we're in chapter 62.
I know.
And so therefore, what happens is when we say these words out loud, there's an illumination. And the discomfort that people feel is because of the illumination of the prayer that's happening, that makes the person start to feel their inner darkness. So what are you going to do? Are you going to let that, it's uncomfortable, so I'm not going to do it? Well, where do we get if we're going to respond to our entire lives that way? Oh, it's uncomfortable for me to go out to the store and buy food, so I'm not going to do it. Oh, it's uncomfortable for me to go to work and make a living, so I'm not going to do it. Right? Where are we going to be if we're worried? The world. One of the things I was noticing is that the world, over the last number of decades, the world has become where it used to be people lived in very great hardships, and there was death, and people knew that, and so they weren't so afraid of pain because their lives were uncomfortable. Maybe they were afraid of death, but they weren't so afraid of pain. Nowadays, things are so comfortable that we become terrified of discomfort.
Right.
And so it's hard for us to keep. So again, the same idea. Why don't people pray out loud? Because there's an illumination that starts to make them feel uncomfortable. That's the way you have to pray. If you want to do it, make an effect. Like I was saying, if you had a millionaire that was saying to you, every word you speak of truth, I'm going to give you $1,000. You'd speak a lot of words, even if it's uncomfortable. That's how we have to understand and get ourselves in faith and trust with Hashem. Hashem's before us, and all we have to do is say sincere words. We create vessels that will bring us back and pull us out of the pit every time. Okay, that's 62. Anybody with a question or comment or thought? So one thing, look at.
He's saying by davening out loud.
Yeah, we're talking about the power of speech that it has to illuminate. If a person even falls, God forbid, far away, just by saying a couple of holy words out loud, that will help that person come back to Hashem. Whether it's words of prayer, whether it's words of Torah, whether it's words of Hitbodedut, whether it's words of talking to a friend about godliness. Okay? The word has a tremendous power to be able to create the vessel to hold the consciousness, and that's what we want to be able to do.
I saw Torah this morning, 19. Somehow it's unbelievable. It works everything. Targum, Lashon HaKodesh. Mamash, it's through Lashon HaKodesh. We got Mamash knocked off the other side. It's unbelievable. Blew me away.
Are you talking about that? He said that that language Targum, the in between it's a secular language written with holy letters. And what that does,
Aramaic is mamish.
What that does, Aramaic is a secular language written with holy letters. So it's like a hybrid.
I think it compares it to Eitz Hadas.
Yes,
it has both sides. You could use it both ways.
Okay. So, but we're not praying to Aramaic. We're praying
in Ivrit.
We're praying. We're talking about Hitbodedut.
Okay.
We are also talking. He is talking about holy words. He said whether it says words, whether it's saying words of Torah, whether it's saying words of, and Aramaic certainly also, because for instance, if a person is saying we're talking about poskim, which is Gemara, for instance, that's Aramaic. So 100%. Rebbe Nachman talks about over there how Aramaic causes a sifting. We were just in chapter 61. We were just talking about learning poskim. And I was actually talking about Sak Halacha specifically. He was talking about making the clarifications, how that nullifies arguments. Okay, but we also know that learning Gemara causes siftings, and that's also the reason it's in Aramaic is because of the siftings. Aramaic it causes a sifting, what's called klipat noga, which is a klipa that's a half holy and half darkness, half tuba. Okay. So that's so what do we do with all this when we learn this? Let's remind ourselves, because prayer needs a lot of reminder. We have to get used to talking to Hashem. We're not used to doing this. When we learn a piece of Torah, we're not used to taking that Torah and now I'm going to turn this Torah into prayer. So how do I do this? We just learned, please Hashem, so I just learned about the power of speech. Hashem, may it be your will that I should be able to believe in you enough, that I should speak out my words out loud and believe in you, and to not fall into the arguments that go on with the little thoughts of heresy that come into my heart that make me doubt you, that make me doubt the power of my prayer before you. Please Hashem, may it be your will that I should, this teaching from Rebbe Nachman should go with me all the time, that I should believe in and utilize all the time the powers of the holy speech that you've given me. Thank you, my Father, for this learning, for this Torah about teaching me about speech. Thank you for the gift of speech. Thank you for letting me be a person who can speak words. And that's how we want to always remember to take what we're learning and turn it into prayer. And especially you're sitting in a shiur, you know what you do? You pray what you're learning right there, because we think way louder than we can speak. So the person who's giving it over, your thoughts are all over there. So now I'm talking a little different now, because you can't really say those words out loud. But those thought prayers are also good. And the thing of it is, while you're having those thought prayers, the person who's giving over the learning, that person assumes when we're in a group now, even though it seems like we're individual people, we have a coalescence of a neshama that comes together, and the person who's speaking is the malchus peh of all of our neshamas together. So therefore, when you're learning, when somebody's giving over a shiur, and you have thought prayers, you're actually adding to the power of that person what he's giving out, the consciousness that's coming into the world to be able to affect you and everybody else. So this is a very holy and good thing to do, is get in the habit of having thought prayers while the person is speaking Torah, to pray about the Torah that you're hearing. Okay, should we do, next one's a short one, 63, let's do one more. 63, Samach Gimel. Keshadam ispalel o misboded karui. When a person prays or has hisbodedus, and let's just again review what's the difference between prayer and hisbodedus. So mitpalel is the aspect of praying, whether it's personal prayer or the structured prayer in a siddur, but it's the aspect of making yourself subservient to Hashem and saying words, directing words to Hashem. That's mispalel. From the word tafel, also to be making yourself subservient. Mitboded is to make yourself alone with Hashem. And that's referring to specifically when you have an intimate relationship with Hashem. So you can actually have hitbodedut in a type of hitbodedut in Shemona Esrei, people do. But the real type of, it says karaui, we've already learned a number of we've gone over in the earlier chapters, what is highest form of hitbodedut. So when it says karaui, so we're talking about where you're talking to Hashem in your own language, where you're talking to Hashem like a little child, in simplicity, like a 4 or 5 year old would talk to his father and mother. Right? We've talked about that. We're talking about the person says the words out loud. We're talking about that the person has a feeling in his heart of yearning for Hashem when he says the words. That's called ra'ui. Uve'emsa, but remember, that's always, we got to go back and say, even a good intention is a good prayer. So this doesn't mean, we're just talking about, we want to go for the highest level, we want to go for the most effective prayers. But that's not always available to us, so we shouldn't feel that we're losing out. We shouldn't feel that that our prayer is no good just because we're not praying in the highest way. To grow in His wonder, we've talked about just the fact that you come and sit down and want to pray is a very amazing thing and precious in Hashem's eyes. So again, we must say that to make sure that we always remember that yes, we're going for these high, ideal type of prayers and into relationships, but everything is good. Anyway, so a person, when it says a person was praying, or when he's doing his bodedus, so a person's like sitting there, Hashem, you're amazing, and I want to come to you, and he's detailing, and everything's flowing, and all of a sudden it stops. And all of a sudden you can't find that tremendous enthusiasm in his heart and yearning for Hashem, suddenly it just stops. Because there's a place inside of us that we hold, like we're talking about, these wounds, and these wounds are aspect of broken faith and broken. Because why does a person push down fear? Because there's a part that's not trusting that Hashem's taking care of it. Why does a person push down shame? Because he's not sure that he's okay in Hashem's eyes. Why does a person push down anger? Because there's a part of him that's not sure that it's going the way it's supposed to go. Why does a person push down hopelessness? Because he's pushing down. There's a part of him that says that Hashem doesn't really care. Right? Those are all aspects of broken mood or damaged faith. So what do you need to do? You need to break your heart inside of you. What does that mean? It means feel the pain of the broken faith. It means open your heart. How do you solve this? You're praying, and all of a sudden you can't pray. What if you come, how many times you go to the Shemona Esrei, you start Shemona Esrei, you're all on fire, you're going to talk to Hashem, and all of a sudden it's like, let me get through this. You said, next thing you know, saying, Shalom Shalom. Where did the prayer go? Right? That's what happens. That's the Yitzhak. That's how powerful prayer is, that we have those experiences, and we need to pay attention and put a red flag on it. Oh, if that's what happens, maybe prayer really is as powerful as all the sages talk about. That's how we get out of those doubts. We go, oh, why is this happening? Why am I in trouble? So there's an aspect of broken faith. So how do you fix that? You break open your heart. And let yourself feel embarrassed that you fell from heaven to earth. In other words, here you are saying you're before your Creator, and you come to say, Hashem, I believe in you. And the next thing, I'm not sure I really believe in you. Oh my gosh. Here you've been with me all my life. Every time I was afraid, you came through for me. Every time, even when I fell, in the end I saw that it turned out for the good. Everything, every step in the way, over and over and over. And here I am. I don't have strong faith. And so and by letting oneself feel that busha and feel the pain, then what the next step is, you have your achmanas on yourself. Look at, and it's actually Rebbe Nachman talks about, that's a very effective way to talk to Hashem. Hashem, this Moshe character here, he wants you so much, and yet his Yetzer Hara is so strong in him and pushes away. Hashem, I have tremendous compassion on him. He wants you so much. Please, I have compassion on this Moshe character. Please, you have compassion on him. That's a really good way to pray. Except if your name's not Moshe, don't pray the Moshe character. Pray.
So,
what?
We'll daven for you.
Also, thank you. But to have compassion on yourself, right? So the step is like this: you got the broken faith. So you feel the pain of that. Everybody wants to, everybody wants to have faith in God. It's a painful thing. Nobody, deep inside, people who don't believe in God, I'm sure, I'm positive, that deep inside they're in pain, they wish they could believe in God. Okay? So how do you fix it? You let yourself feel that pain. And you let yourself feel embarrassed. Maybe it's the embarrassment, I feel embarrassed that I don't believe in you. Or maybe it's the embarrassment of, I feel embarrassed to say that I believe in you. Because there are people, that happens a lot. Like, I don't want people to know that I really believe in God. Right? So to feel that pain, and then have compassion. And then makes the sound. Now this is really important. Why? So he has compassion until he goes, "Ay." Now there's another, he made a vessel for the consciousness of the compassion that he's putting for himself by making the sound. That vessel now carries the consciousness of his yearning, and he basically, it's like you have a goal, right? And you wrote it down, and you put it in your wallet, and you're kind of weakening from your goal. So you take out your wallet, you read yourself the goal, and it strengthens you. Okay? So this, having compassion on yourself for the desire, the pain that you're having about trying to believe in Hashem, and giving it that sound, that compassion and that sound actually will serve to resonate, to stimulate the consciousness, the resonance of your consciousness, to the point where you're able to reclaim the level of faith. So that's how the power. This is the thing. And notice for yourself. I had a guy, one of my clients that I'm working with. I said, okay, so now what I would really like you to do is go ahead and get in touch with your awareness of how much you love Hashem, and now give it a sound. And he said, I can't do that. I said, what do you mean you can't do it? Well, I'm not going to do it in front of you. I said, why? He said, because it's uncomfortable. And I said, and? I said, when you went out to do work to make money, was that comfortable? No. Well, why did you do it? Because I make money. Okay. Well, and I'm telling you, when you do this, you're going to create connection. You're going to create health by making this voice. It actually the science shows that toning actually helps the brain connect more into the body. But now, so that, okay, fine, you need science, then do it. But we're talking about faith. We said that there's a power in making the sound of the sigh. There's a power in making the sound of the words. And if you are uncomfortable, let that be a red flag. Why should saying the words be uncomfortable? Oh, because it's illuminating and it's making me feel my places of broken faith. Oh, well, in that case, let me go ahead and use the voice, because that will help bring it out. That will help open things up and make the connection so that I can clean out the mess. We should be zochah, bless us, to be merit, to be able to believe in our power of prayer, believe Hashem's waiting for it, believe in the power of our words, of saying words out loud, and to the point where we're strong enough to overcome any discomfort, any resistance. And in so doing, we'll certainly see ourselves go from a blossom from level to level. And maybe you will, Hashem, please, that you should help us in doing this. Help us come close to you. Help us master the art of proper prayer, of intimacy with you, so that we can experience the true delights that you want to give us. Amen. Any other questions or thoughts or ideas that you want to bring up before we conclude? Okay, I guess that.
Okay, so
Yes.
You identify the busha. Okay, I'm ashamed. So then you say the prayer.
It says there.
So then
first, you have pain, the pain of the embarrassment, the pain of the confusion.
Right.
You break your heart, you feel the pain. And then you have compassion for yourself in that pain, Hashem.
Ah, nice. Okay.
And then you make a sigh in that compassion. The sigh. We're talking about. Yes, ideally, even more if you say words. But at least to make that sigh, that carries the vibration of the broken heart.
Nice. Okay. And so then you start davening. You talk to Hashem about how to fix my heart.
Right. Well, first, by the way, acknowledging Hashem created how you created me with broken emunah this moment. That's amazing.
Thank you very much.
Not even that. That's a different thing. The first step is to make it about Hashem before you make it about you.
Right.
Wow, you created me having an experience called brokenheartedness. How amazing you are.
Right.
Okay. As soon as I say thank you, I'm putting myself back in the picture. And it's not that thank you is important and it's great, but like Torah Vav talks about, the first step is kvod hamakom. Make it about Hashem first before you make it about yourself. Because thank you is about me. I thank you. I acknowledge you. It's good. That's wonderful. I'm not knocking it. There's two sides of the paradox. Both sides Hashem wants us to take responsibility for. The divine providence side is just acknowledgement. Wow, Hashem, you are creating a relationship. You are creating a broken heart. You are creating a Moshe with a broken heart. Wow, what an amazing thing. I never would have thought of creating a Moshe with a broken heart if I was creating the world. And then after that, but for me, Hashem, I know you want me to take responsibility. So thank you for this. Thank you for giving me a life and a awareness of you and free choice. Thank you. And I'm sorry for whatever I've done that made me deserve this pain and this disconnection. And I ask you to give me kapara and mechila, and to bring you back and give me tikkun. And also, whatever it might be in Am Yisrael that's similar. And in the Shekhinah, please Hashem, have compassion. If this is my pain, how much is the pain of the Shekhinah? Oh, Abba, Rachem. And then always it's good to finish with the gratitude. Hashem, thank you. If I know that I believe with 100% my depth of my heart is that if I could see all the tikkunim, all the fixings, why you're giving me what you're giving, why you're giving me what you're giving me, I'm sure I'd be so delighted and so grateful. So here, I'm going to give you my delight, my gratitude right now, even though it's really not comfortable for me this moment. And that's how you break up in your heart. Shemi's kept. Anything else? Great. Thank you so much, everybody. May the light of the tzaddik, Rebbe Shimon Bar Yochai, illuminate for us our way of coming close to Hashem, close to the truth, to the essence of our true selves and our neshamas.